But what is most worrying about Justice Eadie's decision is that he is now ruling that when it comes to morality, the law in Britain is now effectively neutral, which is why I accuse him in his judgments of being amoral.
Since its formation in 1999, the Society of Editors has not shied away from controversy. Paul Dacre's lecture at the Bristol Conference in 2008 caught the spirit of the Society's role to campaign for editorial freedom, the right to report, and the public's right to know.
If Gordon Brown wanted to force a privacy law, he would have to set out a bill, arguing his case in both Houses of Parliament, withstand public scrutiny, and win a series of votes. Now, thanks to the wretched Human Rights Act, one judge with a subjective and highly relativist moral sense can do the same with a stroke of his pen.
Before the Society of Editors, there was no single organisation representing the interests of editors across all media in London and outside. The merger of the Guild of Editors and the Association of British Editors was a marriage born of mutual self-interest. Together, their pooled resources would be doubly effective.
The pioneering aspect of it was the independence with which we spoke and the strength with which we spoke. We represented all the media, and those we came into contact with in politics or in the law or in the police or wherever knew that we represented everybody, and that gave us a strength that we never had before.
The big battleground for society then and now was the court system, and its first victory was over reporting restrictions. The resulting agreement on court reporting guidelines helped confirm the Society's importance as a campaigning organisation.
Well, having identified the fact that sometimes reporting restrictions were inappropriate or indeed illegal, we then found an ally in Sir Igor Judge, now Lord Judge, the Lord Chief Justice, and he accepted our arguments, and together we produced a booklet which judges and lawyers and journalists could understand, and that has transformed the relationship between journalists and the courts.
The riots which swept through some northern towns in the summer of 2001 were followed by criticism of the media and suggestions it had fanned the flames. The Society led the way in neutralising these attacks by showing how it could help bring communities together.
After the 2001 riots, recognising that the media has a very important part to play in community cohesion, the Society got together with government, with faith groups, with organisations from minority ethnic communities to produce some very simple guidelines to reporting which would help to take some of the tensions out of coverage.
I don't think you're at all wrong on that.
By now, the Society was well established as the source of authoritative comment on key editorial issues. Despite its size, it could punch well above its weight.
Sensible draft, which they can then send to ministers saying that the media side has agreed.
We've become used to seeing prosecution evidence released to the media within hours of it being shown to the jury. The Crown Prosecution Service resisted the idea of greater openness for years, but eventually a campaign by the Society and others persuaded the Director of Public Prosecutions to change its policy.
Now, evidence that is heard in court, except in very exceptional circumstances, is released to the media, and the public can see or read the evidence that the jury heard, and indeed those people in the public gallery would have heard very, very quickly indeed.
The Freedom of Information Act has become an important tool for journalists, and the Society played a key role in advising on its implementation, as well as leading the campaign against a government plan to limit its use by increasing charges. There have been other legal threats too, including plans to hold inquests in secret, aimed primarily at restricting the reporting of inquests of servicemen killed in action. Amongst the Society's successes, the most high profile was undoubtedly the news blackout on Prince Harry's deployment in Afghanistan. This unprecedented understanding was eventually broken by an American website. It was a controversial arrangement, but it won praise for the Society and for the British media.
After the leadership shown by the Society of Editors, Prince Harry was able to go to Afghanistan and the media was able to get a great story. More importantly, as far as all our members were concerned, everyone got equal access to all of the material, which was very important for newspapers who are running websites.
The highlight of the year has always been conference, and each year's has set new standards. One of the Society's greatest coups was at Manchester in 2007, when the new head of MI5, Jonathan Evans, agreed to make his maiden speech to the SOE.
And one of the enduring memories I will have as president for that year is walking on stage in the Radisson Edwardian Hotel at about 11 o'clock on a Monday morning, with all the editors wondering who this person alongside me was. Thinking, is he the hotel general manager? Is he somebody from Marketing Manchester? And they carried on chattering until I got to the podium and said I'd like to introduce as the keynote speaker the Director General of MI5 Britain Security Service.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation to speak at your annual conference. And particular thanks to Paul Horrocks and to Bob Satchwell for arranging the event. As Paul said, it's fairly unusual for the head of MI5 to speak at a media-focused event, but the issue of trust is highly relevant to the world of intelligence, and all the more so as we tackle the most immediate and acute peacetime threat that my service has had to face in its 98-year history.
The speech got widespread coverage and confirmed the Society as the place for movers and shakers to set out their stalls. The annual Society lecture is always keenly awaited. Andrew Neil's 2006 address in Glasgow was a wake-up call to all news organisations.
Success in the internet age will require a new breed of journalist, one at home with the multiple platforms of the internet age, as previous generations have been with paper and ink. It requires an understanding that broadband has made the net no longer a words-driven medium, but a words, picture, and moving picture medium.
It really brought home the significance of the new digital world and the fact it needed to be an integral part of the business. The industry needed to change, and the Society needed to change too.
The Society has been very influential in the important issue of training. Most recently, it has led a campaign to match the convergence of media platforms with convergence in training schemes.
The Society of Editors is a multimedia organisation with print, broadcast editors as members. As employers, they need people who have the variety of skills to operate on several platforms at once.
When sensitive stories surface, like Bob Quick's inadvertent revelation of an anti-terror operation, the Society plays a key role, distributing the Defence Advisory Committee's request not to publish.
The Society's role within the Defence Advisory Committee is to constantly remind everyone that the media should only be asked to restrict its reporting when there is a very serious need to ask for restraint.
But it's rare for the Society of Editors to ask editors to suppress anything. 10 years on, the Society is still battling censorship of all sorts on several fronts. Most worrying are the conditional fee arrangements of some lawyers, which can cripple newspapers financially and threaten to prevent much investigative reporting.
The Society of Editors has a bright and dynamic future, although we never know the challenges that are thrown at us by government or other organisations, but we're there to pick up the gauntlet and to represent the industry.
There will be more battles, but the Society is well placed to fight them.